Everyone doing this Wednesday morning? Good to hear. There were two apples on one table, one of the two being perfect in shape and nice in color, but they're dull looking and weird in shape. Which would you pick up and take a bite out of? I'm pretty sure most of you would choose the perfect apple. I'm here to highlight the many benefits of producing genetically modified foods. GMOs, in other words, have now become a topic of discussion amongst us all. I have previously researched this in the 10th grade, back 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But the information now is much more accurate and more questions are answered. As a matter of fact, that perfect apple I was mentioning earlier is a reference to a bioenhanced food. Today I will briefly summarize a GMO, make a comparison between a genetically modified tomato and an organic tomato, and lastly, I will discuss the economical benefits. First, I will go over the basic understanding of genetically modified food. Bioenhanced, GMO, Frankenfood, Satan's work, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it. When a food is genetically modified, it means that its life forms are manipulated through genetically engineering in hopes of providing a desirable product. Some of these desires include pesticide resistance, longevity, a bigger product, nicer texture, brighter color, so on and so forth. According to WebMD, 60 to 70% of processed foods on U.S. grocery shelves have genetically modified ingredients. Soybeans, maize, cotton, and grapeseed oil are amongst the most commonly modified ingredients. This means the soda we drink, the cookies we all love, and the cereal that some of us ate this morning, myself, all contain these bioenhanced ingredients. In 2002, the USDA, otherwise known as the U.S. Department of Agriculture, established Biotechnology Regulatory Services, the BRS, whose task is to evaluate the safety of these GMOs. If you're still skeptical about this, just know this. The USDA spends about $220 million annually on research related to biotechnology. Secondly, I would like to make the comparison between a GMO tomato and an organic tomato. According to an article on a food selling site called The Tasteful Garden, in 1994, genetically modified tomatoes hit the market in the U.S. as the first commercially available bioenhanced crop. This tomato had a deactivated gene. This meant that the tomato plant was no longer able to produce polydolactrinase, an enzyme involved in fruit softening. As we see here to the left, further left is the organic tomato, and these two to the right are ones with the RNA enhanced. Basically, just a quick summary of RNA. It's just a macromolecule essential to all life forms. As you can see, after 10 days, they all look the same. However, after 20 days, the organic tomato starts to shrivel up. Once it reaches 45 days, you can see the organic tomato is as soft as pudding, whereas these are still perfect condition. This overall proves that its longevity is staggering compared to organic foods. With all this talk about genetically modified foods and organic foods, one must be curious, how do you identify one of these? Sadly, you cannot identify if a food or a product is genetically modified by looking at the ingredient list. However, you can identify produce. According to Dr. Joseph Mercola, you can identify if a food is genetically modified by looking at the code stuck on the fruit or the vegetable with the sticker. A 5-digit code with the starting number 8 means the food is genetically modified. If the 5-digit code starts with 9, then it's organic. Lastly, I will discuss the economical benefits of producing GMOs. As noted by the website CropLife, for the 16-year period of its existence on the shelves, from 1996 to 2011, keep in mind, the global farm income gain was $98.2 billion for farmers. Crop biotechnology has reduced pesticide usage by 474 million kilograms, sorry about that, which is roughly about 9%. As a direct result, 49%, otherwise known as a 48 billion of the 98.2 billion, was earned because of the less usage of pesticides and because of the increased genetics of the genetically modified foods. Crop biotechnology was responsible for additional 110 million tons of soybeans and 195 million tons of corn. I don't know about you guys, but 110 million tons of anything is a staggering number. The surplus of soybeans and corn is very important since it results in cheaper prices due to overproduction and a surplus of foods, which in turn can be given to the starving population. So as you're standing at the table, looking at the two apples, don't be afraid to grab the nicer looking one. Bioenhanced foods have now become the present, and its existence has proved to others. The many benefits of producing genetically modified foods will for sure play a role in this world for years to come. Thank you.
Jade, fill us in on your opinions.
Well, you had a really good attention, Albert, and your thesis statement was really clear and how everything flowed. You said like it was first, second, third. You knew what you wanted to explain. Your citations were really good. It was well integrated into the speech, and your pictures were explained really clearly. And it was kind of cool that you like gave us advice about like the code, 500 code. So I'm probably gonna be looking at that soon. But you showed a lot of interest into the topic, and you could just work on your eye contact a little more. Like it was there, but like you could tell you know what you're talking about. So just like kind of make contact with the audience a little more. But you did really good.
All right. Well, my comments will be shorter because she said a lot of the things that I would have said. I liked the introduction. I thought it was very clear at the beginning where you were going. There's a good layout of the preview. You cite your material pretty consistently. I thought the visuals were very effective at conveying the ideas that you were trying to get across. I did think that the one slide with the codes on the different types of produce went by a little quick because just as I was looking at the one side and saying, the next thing I noticed, I went, holy, it's gone. You know, I was drifting my eyes to the right to see that number 8, you know, see if it was there, and I didn't quite make it that far, so it went by a little quicker than I would have liked. But I thought that the pictures, you know, they're large, and you can clearly see the difference, especially the tomato example that you had. I think it's a little bit awkward to use the example as the second point. Instead, you know, try and talk about here's what the benefit is to the longevity of the food or the quality of the food. And then the tomato is the example that supports that point instead of, I'm going to talk about an example about the tomato and go the other direction. Here's the issue about longevity. What the hell? Is that somebody's phone? I got to make sure now my phone is off. We wouldn't want the phones going off during class. Sound off. Fortunately, it happened outside of somebody's speech, so it's not that big a deal. You know, one of the things that people worry about is whether or not the genetically modified organisms are safe to consume, and I think that you could probably have a point at the end that talks a little bit more about that. Since these products have been on the market for more than 20 years in some cases, is there any indication that there are any problems? If there's an absence of any indication of problems. A lot of people have written critical sorts of things, but there's no research to support those. The FDA has approved these things and constantly monitors. I mean, you have one kind of passing reference to this idea. If any of you are worried about it, well, the FDA does spend $220 million a year researching these kinds of things, which is mildly reassuring, but you never tell us what the results of any of that research are. And that, I think, seems to be the one area in the speech that is missing. And then I'd agree with Jade about the delivery kind of thing. You seem to know the subject. but feel convinced that reading it is going to be better for you, and I don't think it is. If I'm just listening to you, you sound very confident and it comes across, but every time I look up, I see you looking down kind of with your hands crossed and staring at the page there, and you want to get away from that. All right, thank you.